Have you ever looked at your dinner plate and wondered if the food you're eating is helping you live longer or quietly stealing years from your life? At a certain age, we start noticing things we didn't before. A little more stiffness in the knees, a little more fatigue in the afternoon, and, if we're being honest, a little more worry about heart problems, blood sugar, and staying independent as long as possible. But here's the thing. What if I told you that something as simple, humble, and affordable as an onion, yes, a regular onion sitting in your kitchen right now, might hold more power than we ever imagined? Not just to flavor your meals, but to help destroy diabetes at its roots, sweep out your arteries, and give your heart a real fighting chance. It sounds unbelievable, right? But stay with me, because today we're diving into a simple, powerful, and tasty little recipe that could change the way you think about your health. Now, I know that by the time we reach our 60s or 70s, we've all tried a few things. Some diets, maybe a medication or two, a supplement that promised the moon but barely gave us a nap. So I'm not here to sell you some overnight miracle. I'm here to have an honest, heart-to-heart chat about what actually works, and how nature, when we respect and understand it, can become the most powerful medicine of all. You see, onions are more than just something that makes us cry when we chop them. For generations, they've been used in traditional remedies, from India to Italy, from China to your grandmother's kitchen. And now, science is catching up. Researchers are discovering that onions contain powerful compounds that do three incredible things. They help balance your blood sugar, protect your heart, and scrub your arteries clean of plaque and bad cholesterol. And the best part? You don't need anything fancy or expensive to start. Just one simple recipe, a few ingredients, and a little time in the kitchen. Let's begin with what's really happening inside your body, and why this matters more than ever. When you hit your 60s, your body isn't quite as forgiving as it used to be. That slice of cake or that big plate of pasta doesn't get burned off as quickly. Blood sugar starts to creep up. Maybe your doctor has mentioned pre-diabetes or borderline cholesterol. Maybe you're already taking pills for both. It's scary, and it can feel like a losing battle. But you're not helpless. Not at all. The main villain here is chronic inflammation. It silently builds in your blood vessels and organs over time, making it harder for your body to process sugar, pump blood efficiently, and protect itself from disease. Now here's where the onion steps in like a superhero in a cape. Onions are rich in quercetin, a natural antioxidant that helps lower inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and reduce the stickiness of cholesterol inside your arteries. But we're not just going to tell you, eat more onions, and send you on your way. That's like handing someone raw flour and saying, here, bake a cake. No. We're going to turn it into something you'll actually look forward to eating, something you can make once a week and keep in your fridge. Something so simple, you could prepare it with your eyes closed after a while. And it starts with caramelized onions. Now, don't worry, this isn't the kind of caramelized onions packed with sugar or cooked in butter like you find on a burger. This version is heart-healthy, diabetes-friendly, and just plain delicious. All you need are red onions, olive oil, garlic, and a little apple cider vinegar. That's it. These ingredients work together like a well-tuned band. The red onions bring in the quercetin and natural blood sugar balancing power. Garlic adds another level of heart protection by lowering blood pressure and cholesterol. Olive oil brings in healthy fats that support your arteries. And apple cider vinegar helps with digestion and sugar regulation. You slice the onions thin and let them cook slowly over low heat with the olive oil and garlic. Take your time. Let the natural sugars in the onion do the work. After about 30-40 minutes, when they've turned golden and sweet-smelling, you add a splash of apple cider vinegar and stir until the aroma fills the kitchen. What you're left with is not just food, it's medicine that tastes like comfort. Now, here's the magic. You can use this as a topping for just about anything. Add it to your morning eggs. Spread it on a piece of whole grain toast. Toss it into a bowl of lentils or chickpeas for lunch. Even mix it into your soup or salad at dinner. Not only will you be enjoying something flavorful, but you'll also be feeding your heart, balancing your blood sugar, and protecting your brain. Yes, onions are also known to support brain health as we age. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. You don't need to give up the foods you love. What you need is to make space for these small, healing habits to settle into your routine. And this onion recipe is one of the easiest, most enjoyable ways to start. It's incredible how something so simple can be overlooked for so long. We chase after superfoods from the Amazon jungle or supplements with names we can't pronounce, and yet, the answer might be sitting in a bowl on our kitchen counter all along. And now that we've started peeling back the layers on this amazing little recipe, there's even more to explore. When we think of healing, most of us imagine pills, hospital visits, maybe a complicated diet plan that takes the joy out of eating. But what if healing could actually be enjoyable? What if the aroma of gently sautéed onions in your kitchen was doing more for your heart and blood sugar than the latest trendy supplement? It's comforting to know that something so simple, so familiar, can also be so powerful. Let's take a closer look at why this recipe works. Red onions, in particular, are packed with a compound called quercetin. You've probably never heard that name before, and honestly, you don't need to remember it, but what matters is what it does. This natural antioxidant helps your cells handle sugar more efficiently, which is exactly what we want when we're dealing with high blood sugar or insulin resistance. It also reduces inflammation, which is the quiet, invisible enemy that causes damage to your arteries, weakens your heart, and increases your risk of strokes or heart attacks. And this isn't just guesswork or old wives' tales. Multiple studies have shown that people who eat more quercetin-rich foods like onions and garlic have lower blood pressure, more stable blood sugar, and less buildup of dangerous LDL cholesterol, the kind that sticks to your artery walls and narrows them over time. And unlike some medications, onions don't come with a long list of scary side effects. They just come with flavor. Now, let's talk about the garlic in this recipe. Garlic has been called nature's blood thinner, and there's a good reason for that. It helps keep your blood flowing smoothly and prevents clotting. That's vital if you've got a history of heart issues or if your doctor has mentioned concerns about stroke. Garlic also lowers triglycerides and supports your liver in clearing out excess fats from the blood. When combined with onions, they become a 1-2 punch for your cardiovascular system. I know some people worry about the strong smell of garlic, especially if you're around others. But when it's cooked slowly with the onions and olive oil, it mellows out beautifully. Instead of being sharp or overpowering, it becomes sweet, soft, and savory. You'll still get all the benefits, but none of the harsh aftertaste. And speaking of olive oil, that's another star in this healing trio. Good quality extra virgin olive oil isn't just for fancy salads or expensive Italian dishes. It's one of the best fats you can eat, especially for your heart. It's rich in monounsaturated fats, which have been shown to raise your good HDL cholesterol and lower the bad LDL cholesterol. Olive oil also contains anti-inflammatory compounds, which means it helps fight off the kind of long-term internal inflammation that contributes to diabetes, heart disease, and even joint pain. Together, these ingredients create more than just flavor. They create balance, and balance is what your body craves as it gets older. A little less sugar in the blood, a little more oxygen in the heart, a little more clarity in the mind. Every time you spoon this recipe onto your plate, you're making a quiet decision to support your health instead of sabotage it. And let's not forget the vinegar. A small splash of apple cider vinegar toward the end of the cooking process gives the recipe a little brightness. But more importantly, it helps regulate your blood sugar, especially after meals. Vinegar slows the digestion of carbohydrates, which means your blood sugar doesn't spike and crash after you eat. If you've ever felt sleepy or irritable an hour after a meal, that's probably a blood sugar roller coaster. Apple cider vinegar helps keep the ride smooth. Now, I want you to picture this with me. It's lunchtime, and instead of reaching for something packaged or frozen, you warm up a small bowl of beans or quinoa, top it with a scoop of your homemade onion-garlic mix, and maybe toss in a handful of fresh greens or a chopped boiled egg. You drizzle just a bit more olive oil on top, maybe a pinch of pepper, and sit down to a meal that not only tastes amazing, but loves you back. You don't have to be a gourmet chef to do this. You don't even have to cook every day. You can make a batch once a week, store it in a glass container, and keep it in the fridge. It actually tastes better the next day, after the flavors have had time to deepen. And it's not just good for you, it's comforting. It smells like home. It feels like self-care. I've spoken to people in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who started making small changes like this and saw a real difference. One woman told me she used to dread checking her blood sugar every morning. It was always high no matter what she ate the day before. But after 2 weeks of adding this onion mix to her meals without cutting out everything else she loved, her numbers started coming down. Slowly, but steadily. She didn't feel deprived. She felt in control. And that's what we all want at this stage of life, isn't it? We want to feel like we still have a say in our health, that we're not just at the mercy of genetics or time, that there are still things we can do, simple, affordable, practical things that make a real difference. Because let's be honest, it's not just about living longer. It's about living better, having the energy to walk with friends, chase the grandkids, tend your garden, or get out of bed without that ache in your chest or fog in your mind. And when your arteries are clear, your blood sugar is stable, and your heart is strong, everything gets easier. So as you stir that pot of onions and watch them turn golden and sweet, remember, you're doing more than just cooking. You're healing. You're taking a moment to say, I matter. My health matters. And that's powerful. Let's keep going, because there's even more this little recipe can do, and some extra touches that can boost the benefits even further. Now, as you finish letting those onions caramelize and the aroma fills your kitchen, let's talk about what makes this recipe more than just healthy. It's also incredibly flexible. You can turn it into so many dishes that feel familiar and satisfying without ever feeling like you're on a diet. And that's important, especially after 60. Food shouldn't feel like punishment. It should be nourishment and joy, hand in hand. One of the best ways to get the most out of this recipe is to think of it like a foundation. Just like how a house needs a strong base, your meals need a solid starting point. This onion, garlic, olive oil mix can be the base for soups. Stir it into brown rice, mix it with lentils or chickpeas, even spoon it over roasted sweet potatoes. These combinations don't just taste good, they feed your body what it needs to repair itself from the inside out. See, the beauty of using whole, real foods is that they work together. When you pair the onions and garlic with legumes like lentils or beans, you're also getting plant-based protein and fiber, which further stabilizes your blood sugar and supports your gut health. And your gut, by the way, is where a huge part of your immune system lives. Keep it happy, and you'll be amazed at how much better everything starts to feel. One man told me he had struggled with fatigue for years. He thought it was just normal aging, something he had to accept. But once he began eating more plant-forward meals using this onion mix as a base, along with a few other small changes, he felt a spark again. Not overnight, but within a few weeks. His sleep improved, his digestion calmed down, even his mood lifted. Sometimes we forget that food affects our brain just as much as our belly. And that brings me to something very important: consistency. You don't need to be perfect. You don't have to give up everything you love. But if you can bring this recipe into your kitchen 2 or 3 times a week, maybe more, you're creating a ripple effect. That's how change happens. Not through guilt or restriction, but through gentle, steady steps that become habits. Now, there's one more ingredient I sometimes add to this mix, and it may surprise you. Turmeric. Just a pinch. It blends in beautifully with the onions and garlic, giving it a subtle golden color and an earthy depth. More importantly, turmeric contains curcumin, a powerful anti-inflammatory compound. When paired with black pepper, and yes, just a dash is enough, it becomes even more effective. If inflammation is the fire behind diabetes, heart disease, and joint pain, turmeric is like a calm, healing rain. It helps put that fire out. I often suggest sprinkling it into this recipe during the last few minutes of cooking, just enough to activate it but not overpower the dish. It's another small touch that makes a big difference over time. And speaking of time, yours is valuable. I know you've probably tried so many things before: pills, powders, programs. Maybe some helped, maybe some didn't. But this is something you control. It doesn't come with fine print. It doesn't depend on a company or a brand. It comes from your own 2 hands, your own kitchen. And I believe there's something healing about that in itself. There's peace in chopping an onion slowly, in stirring gently over a warm stove, in preparing something nourishing with care. That's a kind of medicine too, not just for your body, but for your spirit. Especially as we age, slowing down and finding rituals that restore us is a gift. I truly believe that the choices we make today, even small ones, can shape our future more than we realize. And if that future includes clearer arteries, more stable blood sugar, fewer medications, and more energy to live the life you love, isn't that worth stirring a pot for? So whether you use this recipe as a topping, a side dish, or the centerpiece of your meal, just remember, every spoonful is a step toward healing. You're not just feeding your hunger, you're feeding your health, your future, and your independence. And you deserve that. If any part of this conversation sparks something in you, I'd love to hear about it. Maybe you've already tried something similar. Maybe you've just decided to give it a shot. Either way, your story matters. And I invite you to share it in the comments, not just for me, but for others watching this who might need a little hope, a little encouragement. If this video was helpful for you, don't forget to hit the like button. It really does help us reach more people who need support just like you. And if you want more practical, comforting tips like this, go ahead and subscribe. I'm always here to help you find gentle, natural ways to support your health and happiness. No matter where you are in your journey, it's never too late to make a change. And sometimes, that change starts with the humblest of things: an onion, a little garlic, and a whole lot of heart. Here's to living your best life at any age. You've got this.